at the office, Cleveland's home for sports talk that never clocks out. From the latest headlines to heated debates, we're diving into everything sports. It's your hosts, Noah, John, and Erik.
What's up, Cleveland? Coming at you live with another episode of The Office. Welcome. It's a show where three work buddies debate and discuss the top sports stories in Cleveland, around the country, sometimes around the globe. You can join us too. Send a comment, YouTube, Facebook, or X, text or call, 216-260-3433. 216-260-3433. We got a great show. We got a lot coming out. The Cavs clinched the playoff berth about half an hour ago. Got all kinds of stuff going on tonight. But before we get into that, Noah, Erik, how we doing tonight, gents?
The Cavs are 52-10. We have the best bench in the league. This team is something special. If you are a Cleveland fan and you are not watching the Cleveland Cavaliers, what the hell is wrong with you? You are delusional. You are stupid. Get out of Cleveland Browns land. Forget about Shedeur Sanders or whoever they're going to take at the top of the draft, because you might have a ring coming sooner from a team that deserves your attention way more than the Browns. I'm doing good, John. How are you, man?
So I was going to say, is that a doing good?
Yeah.
A little winded there, but I love it because I could not agree more. The only thing you guys forgot is that the Cavs are the first playoff team clinch. The first team to clinch. I love it. They look good. Even when they're not getting going, they still find ways to win. That was a really good game against the Heat tonight. They're a well-coached team. But once again, they get the W and they win 12 straight for not once, not twice, but the third time this season.
Yeah, it was great to watch. And in addition to the Cavs, we got all kinds of stuff going on. Joe Bitonio's coming for a 12th year, going for his 6th straight Pro Bowl. Crosby signed a crazy extension. He's going to make like $33 million a year, highest paid player who's not a quarterback. DK requested a trade. But we're going to get into all kind of good stuff tonight. We got a great show for you. We're going to start where we always do with 30-second takes. Now, this one came up. Noah texted and said, what should we do? And I said, the weather's getting nicer. It has me thinking about being outside. Some people, that means yard or the beach or tailgating for a Cleveland Browns game. This guy. So I thought about it and I said, hey, you guys have tailgated a bunch. What's your greatest tailgating memory? So what we want to start off with for our 30 seconds takes is you each telling us what your favorite memory is from a Cleveland Browns tailgate. We're going back to the original format. No more filibustering on the 30-second takes. You have 30 seconds. You will be muted if you go over. Noah, why don't you get us started off as the resident football player on the pod?
Yeah, my story does not go as well as yours two's will. I was in college. It was Arizona Cardinals, Cleveland Browns. Was going with a couple of my buddies just to tailgate. We were going to go watch the game at a bar downtown. We weren't even going to the game. And we were having a great time. We had the case of Miller going. We were playing die. We were playing beer pong. And then Noah realized he left his keys in the trunk. And $150 later and 2 tow trucks coming, Noah's keys got out of the trunk. And we got to go watch the Browns get smacked by the Cardinals. So I started it on a sad note.
That's all right. We can rock with the sad note. It's just most memorable. It doesn't say best memory. E, how about you? Throw it up. Give him his 30, Noah.
So for me, I kind of took the same route. I think all three of us on the show kind of pride ourselves at times on our athleticism. We hoop together. All three of us play different sports and have played different sports. I might be the worst tailgate quarterback of all time, though. I have 2 stories, but I'll just give you one. And I'm sorry, I'm already at my 30, but I'll keep it brief. I'm a teenager, and I'm at the Muni lot with my parents, slinging around the football, and I throw a pass, and it's a beauty.
I had to. I'm sorry. I had to. I'm sorry. No,
we'll
Erik,
hear it later. All right.
No, go ahead with your story, man.
I
go
throw
ahead.
this beautiful pass. It's a tight spiral. It's sailing to my dad, maybe a little over his head, because it's going right towards the neighbor tailgater's truck. My dad leaps up, and makes this incredible acrobatic catch that was unbelievable. He tears his hamstring.
Oh,
His face plants on his own his own tail light and shatters it. He did come down with the football. To this day, I maintain he caught the ball, so the pass was fine. And anytime I have a football in my hands or make any sort of errant throw with any type of ball and my father is around, he refers to me as Tom Brady. And the sad thing is that's not the worst passing story, but we'll save that one for another day.
I love the other one better. I forgot about the story with your dad, but that one's always a classic as well.
I know Noah wants the other one, but that one's very embarrassing. You can take a vote. If both of you say yes, I'll tell it.
Yeah, no, tell it. We're here. Why not just tell it? We already teased it. Tell the story. You already broke John saying no filibuster, so you might as well tell everything you want.
I suppose this is worth it for the embarrassment of your guys' favorite host, yours truly. This past year, I'm tailgating, and the libations are flowing, let's just say.
I mean, it's a tailgate, so that goes without saying.
Exactly. Pro tip, probably don't bring a bottle of vodka to a tailgate. It's too much. You could go less when it's tailgating. So I'm pretty deep, and we're taking a little walk to one of our friends. Their parents are set up further down, so we're walking over to their tailgate. And as we're walking, kind of zigzag at this point, there's this girl and a guy playing catch. Young girl. She looks like, I don't know how young she was, but she looks like a teenager. So as we come up, the guy's closest, I go, hey, can I get a throw? And he's like, yeah. So I catch the ball that she throws, no problem. I go to throw this football. I don't know what they did. I don't know how she was able to throw it so perfectly, because this was the slipperiest football I've ever held in my entire life. In my 33 years on planet Earth, I've never felt a football like this. I can throw a football. John, you and I were tossing a football around not too long ago. I can throw a football. I go to throw this football to this teenage girl, mind you. I go back, I go forward. It slips right out of my hand. It goes about 3 feet. It dribbles like 3 feet. This is like pants off on the next hole, doesn't get past the women's tee kind of thing. I try a second time. The results aren't all that much better because I overcompensated a lot. This thing slipped out of my hands. I got to make up for it. I launch it. It goes like 30 feet over her head.
Oh, my God.
Every chance, my friend, shout out John and Courtney, every single chance they get, they give me shit for this. And
as do I.
Well
to
deserved.
Be fair. Every time it comes up with a football, I do as well, to be fair. But John, I want to hear you talk, and I'm gonna put the timer up for you there.
I was gonna say I don't know what the those are good
right.
stories. I don't know what the point is of the timer, but go for it. So I tailgated. My roommate in college had season tickets. Shout out Brandon. Hopefully he's checking us out the pod. He took me every week for like 3 straight years. So most of my greatest stories of tailgating were told to me because I don't in fact remember them. College kid at a tailgate. Let's say I was overserved as well. But the one that really sticks out to me, the draft night that we drafted Baker Mayfield, they had a tailgate in the Muni lot. Fox was set up there, and I went to it. And I didn't want Baker that night. But in the days that followed, that kind of launched us into what is, for better or for worse, the best era of Browns football since 1999. But being there with my buddies, getting a fist bump, oh God, Brady Quinn with seeing the big Fox robot, and then us taking Baker Mayfield and being kind of off to the races for the next 3 to 4 years was that was my best night of not a traditional tailgate, wasn't pre-game, it was pre-draft, but it was a blast of a night. It was a cool moment, and it set us forward on what we thought might be a positive trajectory for our football team.
Well, it was for a little while. Were you guys at the Were you guys at the Thursday night football Jets game, by the way, where Baker comes in and wins it?
No. I was in high school. I had class the next day.
Jesus Christ. To this day, I've never heard a stadium louder in my life. I was in the dog pound for that game. By far the most fun atmosphere. I mean, I've been to some really cool events, finals and World Series, nothing has topped to this day that atmosphere. Maybe Buckeye games, but it was insane.
That might be a good one for our next topic, or 30-second take. What's the loudest you've ever heard a crowd? Because I wasn't there. I can't challenge it. But the Raji Davis World Series home run on TV was probably registered as an earthquake on the seismograph. And then I was at the LeBron James dunks on Kevin Garnett, no regard for human life game with my dad. I thought my eardrums were going to rupture when he punched that in and ran back to the huddle.
Fair. Those are both good.
Yeah, but Baker
Good
bringing
moment.
it back, it looked like it was rocking on TV. Okay, 30-second takes took us 30 minutes, but that's sometimes what we do at the office. Don't worry about it. Thanks for staying with us. Moving on from 30-second takes, we got a new idea. Now, this is the first time this has happened, but we're introducing a new segment. 30-second takes isn't always enough to hit all the topics that we want to hit, the hot things that are going on. So we wanted to give a little more space to discuss the news of the day, relevant topics, without dedicating a full segment to them. So we are pleased to present for the first time to bring you what we call Around That's right, Around the Water Cooler, a segment where we're going to go deeper on something that might be a 30-second take, but we want to keep it relevant for everybody who's watching. And there's some relevant news that we all were texting about, saw some tweets about it today. Mary Kay Cabot broke it first. It was confirmed since then by several news outlets. Your Cleveland Browns, getting to the point where I'm going to say, not my Browns, because they're pretty much pissing me off at this point, but our Cleveland Browns are parting ways with one Nick Chubb. For me, this is a heartbreak. And why don't I go ahead and get us started, because I'm going to let you two start the major segments. Is he a 30-plus-year-old running back? Yes. Has he had an injury history? Yes. Are there all kinds of reasons where this makes good business sense? Yes. But I'm thinking about the heart and soul of the team and what I get up to root for. The last Browns last Browns jersey that I purchased, it's Nick Chubb. He's my favorite player. Now we're talking about a team with no Myles Garrett, no Nick Chubb, trading down in a draft where you have the number 2 pick, sucking potentially for another year so we can get a quarterback next year. It feels like a disaster. And maybe this is not the actual moment of what happened. It's the implications of what this means. But more so than any one player, the whole this might be a Super Bowl window for me comes to a 100% definitive end the minute Nick Chubb signs with any other team in the National Football League. Again, I don't think
I gotta jump in here, John, because I adamantly disagree with that take. I agree with you that it is a huge negative, and I'm pissed off that Nick Chubb is leaving the Cleveland Browns more likely than not. I mean, we're talking 99% here at this point or whatever. But to say it takes them out of their Super Bowl window, if we even consider they are in one right now, in Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry's mind, a guy who is going to end up being a backup running back on this roster next year, based off of everything we saw, him not being signed back does not take them any further away from potential winning other than locker room culture, which is a big part of it. I will agree with you. But
yeah, you ran Baker Mayfield out of town over locker room culture, so don't poo-poo it.
Right.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Listen.
And I didn't say his actual departure meant the window was closed. I said his departure emotionally signifies that whatever sliver of hope we had left is gone.
I disagree with that as well. I mean,
tell me why.
We're one good quarterback play away from forgetting all about that. Listen, as much as I love Nick Chubb, and I'm right there with you, the last purchase that I made of a jersey was also Nick Chubb. As much as I love the guy and I think that he is a part of our team, the heart and soul of our team, to understand that, yeah, he would be a backup. Would I love to see him in a 1-2 punch with him and whoever we draft, hint, hint? Yeah, absolutely. But it doesn't, I mean, this is business at the end of the day. I think we all saw it was coming. I'm sad about it because I love Nick Chubb. I hope he gets an opportunity somewhere that's not named Pittsburgh. But to keep him or to try to overpay to keep him in Cleveland doesn't make any sense. And I don't think that it marks an end to anything. If you bring in Kirk Cousins and all of a sudden you string together 4, 5, 6 wins in a row, you're not going to be going, well, Nick Chubb's not here. He's our heart and soul. We're not a playoff team. That take doesn't make sense.
You don't make a bad point, but there's a couple things I want to hit on that you said. One, 4, 5, 6 wins in a row is a big if, buddy. I don't think even in a good year that this team wins 6 games in a row, especially with Kirk Cousins. 2,
Nick Chubb doesn't.
Hold on, let me finish my point real quick. Bernie Kosar left to go to Dallas. Felt the same. Didn't make sense to overpay him. I'm not saying you guys are wrong. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying it means more because of the name on the back of the jersey and what he means to the fan base. And I think it's a big loss still for the team, even if it is in the locker room and in the minds of the fans.
But you can't say that a guy, the best at his position, Myles Garrett, losing him doesn't mean we lose or win any more games. Having him doesn't mean we win any more games. And then out of the same side of your mouth say losing Nick Chubb means that this window's over. That doesn't make sense.
Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm just pissed as a Browns fan.
Fair, and that's fair. That's a fair. The emotion is fine. I agree. It sucks.
Nothing about being a Browns fan right now makes sense, and I think that's the point that I'm trying to make. You made some other points in there where I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong. When you say something like, we're one quarterback away from winning 5, 6, 7 games in a row and doing X, we've been
4, 5, 6.
We've been 4, 5, 6. We've been one quarterback away from winning 4, 5, 6 in a row and doing something.
No, fair.
I'm not 93.
I'm not saying we're going to do that. All I'm saying is it's fine to be emotional over this. The biggest point where I disagree with you, I just covered. But the second biggest point where I disagree with both of you, I don't understand why you're pissed at the Cleveland Browns here. It's the smart move. It's not like they're saying, hey, we don't like Nick Chubb or we're itching to get rid of him. To be pissed and to say that I don't understand what the Browns are doing, hard disagree. This is the smart play, whether we like it on an emotional level or not. If they do bring in a quarterback, if they draft well, I don't know why we keep saying I don't understand what they're doing right now. They're having a fine offseason thus far.
Listen, let me jump on that for a second, because I agree with you to a point. If I'm looking at this strictly analytically as this front office does, and not with the emotion that matters to us, the 3 fans sitting here talking. How many times, and I know calling Andrew Berry right is not a popular opinion or a popular statement right now. How many times has Andrew Berry cut bait on an older player and been right about it? Because I can give you an example that happened last season. Amari Cooper. You want to talk about Olivier Vernon? He was done out of the league after us. Odell Beckham Jr., anybody? I mean, he has done this.
But go on.
Okay, he won a Super Bowl, but what did he really do?
He put up insane numbers before he got hurt in that Super Bowl. But go on. I'm taking
you get what I'm saying, though. How many times has this guy been right about when it's time to cut bait from these older players? And yeah, it might hurt in the moment. We were pissed when Amari got traded. But I'm happy we got a 3rd-round pick out of whatever happened with him in Buffalo this year, because it was going to happen here, too.
I don't know what this is the thing that frustrates me about Cleveland sports fans in general. I'm stepping back from this because you guys are right about Nick Chubb. It was a good business move, to your point, Erik. No, it doesn't necessarily open or close the Super Bowl window. I think the overarching point is that I don't know what the hell's going on with the franchise in general. Is Myles in? Is he out? We spent more than any team in the history of the NFL on payroll and won 3 games for it. Up is down, left is right, blue is red, and I just feel like we're back to chaos when we were so close 2 years ago to not having to be in this position. And the frustration and the irritation is when you have a man who everybody will chant, Chubb, 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 and we all just said 2 of the 3 of us, last purchase we made was a Nick Chubb jersey. You have a man who the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers refers to as Mr. Chubb, something he only does where he has the utmost respect for a player. And we're kind of like, oh, cool, he's old and hurt, we're good. Great. But Noah, your same faith and your same GM that made really good calls on questionable calls, in my opinion, on things like letting Odell Beckham Jr. go is the same guy who won 3 games last year. So I don't know whose fault that is.
The players won 3 games last year. Let's be very clear on that, because that all comes down to Deshaun Watson.
100%.
I don't think you could put that on Andrew Berry. And listen, I think we've talked about it in baseball, but let's put it in football terms. We don't need to pay for past performance. I love the guy. I'll buy the guy a beer, or he can buy me one. He has more money than I do. But paying for past performance makes 0 sense here. We got to cut the emotional aspect, and that's what GMs do for a living. They cut the emotional side out. Andrew Barry probably loves the guy too. That shouldn't go into the business decision.
No.
One last thing I will add real quick.
Mm-hmm.
To play a little bit of devil's advocate, because my goal on here was not to come on here and be all hunky-dory dandy about the Nick Chubb trade. I think it's a horrible move when it comes to thinking about establishing the locker room culture, something they desperately need right now with how last season went with Myles Garrett requesting a trade. But I think, and I don't know if we want to transition this to the next part of this water cooler talk that we got going on, but I think they're more comfortable with it when you bring back a guy and know a guy like Joe Bitonio is coming back, who's older in the league, who has been through a lot of highs and a lot of lows with this team, and ultimately is going to play a much bigger role in terms of the Cleveland Browns' success in 2025 than probably, as much as we don't want to admit it, Nick Chubb would have.
I don't.
Huge news.
Yeah, it's not crazy what you're saying, Noah. I would disagree that offensive lineman means as much as a top tier running back. The only thing that
he's not a top tier running back anymore, John. You have to accept that.
Here's the thing, though, and I realize that this is a bit of a paradigm shift. Because usually when we talk about, hey, Noah thinks he knows everything because he knows for a fact whatever, Shedeur Sanders is going to stink and that we should take a lineman. It's the same kind of thing for me with this. What it makes you so damn certain and sure that Nick Chubb is washed and can never play a serviceable down ever again in the NFL? Well, how do you know that?
I didn't say I don't think he's I never said that I thought he was washed and he can't play a serviceable down. You called him a top tier running back. He was not a top tier running back last year. And off of another lower extremity injury in his 30s, we're looking at the statistics. You look at the numbers that happen when a running back goes through that many injuries. No, he's not going to be Nick Chubb of old. Now, is there a role for someone who's a third down back in the Nick Chubb frame that, he may get hurt again, but it's neither here nor there? 100%. But to call him a top tier running back right now is digging too much into the nostalgia and the love of Nick Chubb, in my opinion.
And once again, let's get to the crux of the issue of the Cleveland Browns. He is not going to single-handedly get us any more wins. If he goes to a team and he lights it up, I mean, Saquon just got the highest ever. He got paid as the highest ever running back, and look at his age. If he goes and does that, fine. That sucks, but it's not like he's going to bring us to the Super Bowl. I mean, it just the risk isn't worth the reward at this point for this team.
It's fair. I think there's two separate points there, though, because I remember on this very podcast earlier talking about how we had faith that Deshaun Watson was going to be good when he hadn't been good in 3 years and had spent most of it hurt. And now we're saying it about Nick Chubb and everybody's 100% positive the guy's done. I think we might regret it. I hope we're wrong. But if we look up next year and he rushes for 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns for the Steelers, it's going to really, really, really suck worse than it does now when we already admitted that it kind of sucks anyway.
When we were saying that about Deshaun, just for the record, he wasn't hurt. He was sitting out because he couldn't keep his willy in his pants. So a little bit.
No, he was hurt.
He got hurt after that. But
he's talking about when we talked about it on the podcast. To play devil's advocate again, too, and to lean into John's point a little bit. We're talking about a guy that's probably going to sign for max $3 million.
Right. That was the other thing I was going to say. We're talking about having to overpay him. I don't think he had to overpay him. I think he could have just kept him.
And that's where I think it's frustrating because you could very easily just pay him that money, keep him on the roster, keep him away from a team like Pittsburgh because, yes, it would suck. And you have a locker room guy at the very least. I agree with you on that side of it, too. But I also understand the idea of moving on. Hey, we weren't there for those contract negotiations. Maybe Chubb, not that he's the type, wanted more money than the Browns thought he was worth. So they said, go set your market. Me and Matt talked about this on Monday. At the time, it sounded like, he's going to set his market and just re-sign with the Browns. Now with this Mary Kate article, we're eating our words 3 days later.
And I was going to say, with the words coming out of your mouth, moving on, that's something that we're going to need to do if we're going to get to the rest of the show. So I'm going to let Noah have the last word on that one. Good conversation, guys. As we do so many times on this podcast, we're going to have to agree to disagree and see where the chips fall in the fall. All right. From the water cooler to the beer fridge, I want to remind you all that our show tonight is brought to you by D&D Meadery. Now, before I get into telling you how excellent they are, I want to show you guys a little something that I picked up.
He bought another bottle.
There it is.
Yeah.
Finally.
This is bottle number 3, so I could have one for a prop. I bought 2 bottles. The open one is downstairs. May or may not be a little bit in my at the office mug. You'll never know.
I hope you used our code with your fake sips.
Not fake sips. I have never taken
Noah's was for sure.
Mine was so fake. I was hoping there was a little sliver of Mountain Dew diet left in that cup, and there just was not.
I'll let you a little bit behind the scenes. I have the mug. I have the cup that I fill with the drink that I pour into the mug because I drink a lot over the course of the show. If it's water, the sips look real because I'm gulping it. If I decide that I'm not going to have a nice cab or maybe some D&D mead, then the sips are a little more shallow because you don't want to gulp that. But always real sips and always real, just like Derek and Dominic bring us the mead right from up the road in Madison, Ohio. These two rekindled the long-lost art of making mead. You can class it up. You could dress it down. Take it to a tailgate. Maybe if Erik was drinking this the night that he went to the tailgate, he wouldn't have thrown the ball into somebody's face and set it down to feel like a normal functioning human being. So whatever the occasion is, D&D Meadery's got you covered. And if you order and use the code at the office CLE, that's at the office CLE, you can get 5% off. You buy 2, and I would recommend so because they go fast and you get a free shot glass too. Thank you to D&D Meadery for the sponsorship and D&D for the win. Drink responsibly, friends. All right. Topic number 1. So we talked about the Cavs a little bit. 52nd win tonight, clinching a playoff berth. We saw the comeback win against the Celtics. And the comeback win against everybody else since. I don't want to go too deep on that because they're still winning games, but you might not want to go down 15 to everybody you play. It's not a recipe for success, but they're getting it done, man. We're clearly the best regular season team in the league. Question I have for you guys is, now that the playoffs are coming up, we're finishing out the season, All-Star breaks in the rearview mirror, which is really at the 2/3 mark of the season and not the halfway point anymore anyway. Question I have for you guys is, what are you looking for the Cavs in the playoffs? What's the ceiling, and how do you think this season shakes out, given what you've seen in the regular season? Noah, I let you go first last time. E, why don't you get us kicked off on your thoughts on the Cleveland Cavaliers and the state of affairs?
I am so excited, first of all, because I will say something that sounds unbelievable, and that is we have yet to see the best that the Cleveland Cavaliers have to offer. We've seen them very good. We've seen them absolutely incredible for 3 quarters. I'm not sure that we've seen a complete game out of them yet. They know that they don't need to. They're playing really good ball. Their ball movement's incredible. Listen, tonight is a good example against the Heat that they're adaptable. The Heat were guarding the perimeter unbelievably. Even when we're making crazy passes, they had great perimeter D tonight, and we transition to getting the ball inside. There's a play that stands out in particular because it wasn't to Mobley, it wasn't to Allen, it's to Mitchell standing in the paint, where their own center's like, what the hell are you doing here? We're finding ways to win, and picking up DeAndre Hunter is by far the best pickup. I mean, maybe Butler will prove to be great going out west, but Hunter added what we needed. He added defense, which we've seen a little from him, but come playoff time, we'll really see when it's lockdown defenses. He adds a shooting and a scoring threat, and he adds length for us. To say that we've seen the best that we've seen, that's just categorically false. I will say that I'm so tired of the national narrative, though. We're down big against Boston to start early. Jason Tatum does his little – he's the corniest player in the NBA, by the way.
I hate Jason Tatum. I said it on Monday. I'll say it again. His cockiness, his complaining, happy birthday, don't care. Jason Tatum is so corny.
It's like a made-up cockiness, too. It's like he knows he needs to do something. I don't know. It's so corny. But after that run that they go on, national media, and thank God I wasn't watching. I was watching our boys on local, but national media were talking about, oh, this is going to be a blowout, blah, blah, blah. Once we come back, that shifted to, well, they have a lot of hurt players. I'm sick of it. I am so sick of it. I think we're a better team. I know we're a better team. They can shoot lights out, don't get me wrong, but we have the scoring. What's nice about the East is that we know who the teams are. I don't think the Cavs are going to let us down. I don't think, frankly, Boston's going to be a letdown. I think that could very well be an Eastern Conference Finals matchup. I think the West is a different story, which I think we'll get into later.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to jump in second, though. I was going to kick it to you, but Erik and I have I have a different side of like the same Rubik's Cube when it comes to how I'm putting this together. Another way to say this team is so scary because we haven't seen the best, in my mind, is to say they can beat you in a lot of different ways. You know that in any given night over the course of 82 games that every single person 1 through 9 or however deep we go isn't going to play their best game that night. So to Erik's point, yeah, the ceiling is freaking crazy high. But the cool thing is I've seen Donovan Mitchell start a game 1 of 13 and watch the Cavs still bludgeon the team by 20 points. I've seen Darius Garland take the load and be that guy who's just so red hot and unstoppable. He looks like Curry at times. I don't want to go crazy. He's not Curry, but he's had stretches where he's just that fiery. We have a bench you have 2 6-man of the year candidates that ended up on the same team coming off the bench to lead a second squad that could start for 3 or 4 teams in the NBA. Sacramento would take everybody on our bench. You kidding me? There's just these different ways that you look up and oh my God, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. White kid from Virginia who comes off the bench at guard.
Ty Jerome? He's also mixed.
No, Ty Jerome. On a night where you're like, Donovan's not quite there. Darius isn't quite there. Mobley's not playing because of rest. Ty Jerome's like, cool, got you. 32. Good night. Drive safely. Like,
he's unbelievable. When we lose him, I'm going to be so sad.
Oh, yeah.
We aren't. We're not. The odds, they came out and already said that the odds are more likely for him to come back to Cleveland than even test free agency because there's only like 3 teams that have the cap space to give him the most money. And it's like Utah, Charlotte, or something like that. Brooklyn. Like, he's not going to go play there.
That's true. I will say that the fans from LA sure think that he's an LA Laker real soon.
They always think everybody's a Laker.
Think everybody's going to the Lakers.
Mm-hmm. So no, just to wrap mine up though, I'm thinking the same way as Erik. This team is like you stop our first option and second option and Mobley and Jared Allen and Mobley don't have the big man game going down low. And that's the night Isaac Okoro goes for 18, 10, and 6 and plays lights out defense. I just don't know what to do with it. If you're scouting the Cavs, I don't know what to do. Noah, what do you think?
To quote the great Michael Jordan, the ceiling is the roof, period. The ceiling is the roof for this team. And I say that because they will beat you left, right, and center, like you said, John. We're talking a team going up against the defending champions on a Friday night in primetime, going down 22 points, 25-3 at the first TV timeout, coming back and winning the damn game. This team is special. Boston, you don't scare me. Indiana, you don't scare me. Miami, you don't scare me. Oklahoma City, you don't scare me. This team is the best team in the NBA. They have proved it night in, night out. And if you're sleeping on them, please do. Please do, because we'll beat you by 25, bend you over, and spank you on the way out. That's where I'm at. This team is the best team in the NBA, and I want to give myself a pat on the back for a second, because we talked a little bit about the Cavs in the preseason, and you guys were like, Eastern Conference Finals, this should be like the goal here. No, the goal is the whole damn thing. I said it then, I said it now, and I'm going to continue to say it until that ring, my part-time Cleveland Cavaliers ring, is sitting pretty on my ring finger, because it's coming.
I thought you were going to say, and I agree with you, because first of all, I never said that Eastern Conference Finals is the goal or the end goal. I agreed with you. It's championship or bust. But where I will give you credit is that you correctly said that Evan Mobley and unlocking him is the key to this team, and he absolutely has been. But I will say I don't think that Evan Mobley has grown, don't get me wrong. But I think the true key to this team has been Kenny Atkinson. I asked a friend of mine who's a basketball coach not too long ago. I said, what's the difference in this team this year from last year? And the players themselves had said coaching, but I wanted, from his perspective, a coach's perspective, to know what exactly is the difference. And he said that their pace up and down the floor is dramatically different this year.
It's high.
It is so much higher, and that makes all the difference in the world. Obviously, yeah, bringing in pieces, but the coaching that Atkinson he's a great offensive mind, and what's funny is that they can play defense when they want to. Look at the end of the game tonight. They're playing lockdown defense. That's what I come to expect. Things are going to tighten up when the playoffs come, and the game's going to slow down a little bit. But I have full belief in this team at this point.
You talk about pace. I mean, the team is 9th in the league for pace. They were like 21st last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's I second that.
Yeah.
I also want to.
I want to throw one more thing in real quick too. That I agree with you. By far and away the biggest piece is Kenny Atkins. What he's bringing to this team in terms of pace, flow of the offense. 100% agree. If I had to say what's a distant but relevant second, health, and everybody knock on wood.
That's true.
Garland spent a lot of time out. Mobley spent a lot of time out, and Mitchell spent a lot of time out last year. And Ty Jerome was out for like most of. So I do not for a second want to discount what the coach has done for this team. But if I could say, hey, what else contributes to their success this year? Like I said, I feel bad even saying it out loud, but everybody has remained relatively healthy for the majority of the season. Noah,
I want to add something real quick, and we can move on from that. But Evan Mobley is going to be the key for this playoff run. This team reminds me a lot in ways of that San Antonio Spurs team when Kawhi Leonard finally kind of started clicking and they beat the Heat before LeBron came back to Cleveland. Evan Mobley is going to have his Kawhi moment where he realizes, like Kawhi did, that, oh, I'm the claw. He's going to have whatever, oh, I'm the unicorn, or whatever phrase you want to tout on Evan Mobley, and that's what's going to push us. You see him play, yes, I agree. Kenny Atkinson's the biggest piece of this puzzle, but you say him play a different brand of basketball compared to anything he ever does. He'll take the ball up the court, drive and dunk. He'll take the ball up at the three, shoot a three, pump fake it, go to the rim, dunk it. He has another level to his game, and as he continues to develop it, it's only going to get scarier and scarier for this NBA, man.
And I want to make one huge point to dovetail onto that, because you're absolutely right. The thing about Evan Mobley is that he unlocks our game in a different way, in that we can play small ball with Evan on the court, and we can also play with the two bigs on the court with him. Like, he adapts to both of those, which is huge, because when we're going to see different matchups, we're going to need to be able to be versatile like that, and it just unlocks a whole different dimension for this team.
It does. 100%. I saw something happen tonight where Jared Allen caught the ball middle of the paint, gave a little up fake with his shoulder, and then bounced a bounce pass behind his back in the paint to below the hoop to Mobley, who grabbed it and either had an easy lay-in or a dunk. Watching 2 7-footers move the ball like that within 5 feet of the hoop is something you don't see on every team either.
That oop from DeAndre Hunter towards the end of the game. I mean, he finds the spaces in the floor. That's the thing. Spacing's everything, and the off-ball movement. I know you want to look at where the ball's at, but when you look at what players are doing off the ball, that's the sign of how successful you'll be as a team. It's one of the reasons I'm a big Steph Curry fan. I know people hate him, but he talks all the time when he runs his camps about how, all right, if you don't have the ball, don't just stand there and wait for the ball. You should be moving. You should be moving off screens. You should be constant. And you see him do that. That's what we see at this Cavs team. They understand the spacing on the floor. Mobley can kind of slip into those areas and be there. I mean, I can't talk well enough about this Cavs team. I'm so excited.
I am too. And you guys brought up a couple points. You alluded to Steph Curry. You've alluded to I'm not scared of OKC. Nobody said the Lakers. We did mention the Warriors now that they have Jimmy Butler, but we've talked a lot about the Western Conference, and I think in it's like this a little bit in baseball, but the season's so damn long, you kind of play everybody. In basketball, more than any sport for me, I watch Eastern Conference. I couldn't tell you a damn thing. I've watched 2 Western Conference basketball games all season where the Cavs weren't playing a West Coast team. But the Lakers are on a bit of a tear now that they got Luka. The Warriors look different with Jimmy Butler. We do have OKC with SGA kind of tearing it up, and they're nipping at our heels for the best record in the NBA. So I was going to say who scares you, but no, I already said, you don't scare me, you don't scare me, you don't scare me. So I'll rephrase the question. If the Cavaliers fall short of a championship this year, despite being the best team in the regular season, who's the most likely team to take them out, Eastern Conference or Western Conference?
It's whoever comes out of the West in my mind. And to me, it's going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Lakers are fun right now. And I've had a blast watching ESPN, inflate the ego of the big markets as they do, because they are fun. I like LeBron. I like Lucas. So it is fun to watch them. But the Thunder are just a different breed of deep, like we are. They are a different breed of young, like we are. And they have some experience in the playoffs like we do. I think the matchup of the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to flat out feed families in terms of quality, entertaining basketball in the NBA Finals. And if there is a team to knock them off, and there is not a team that's going to knock off the Cleveland Cavaliers, I speak in absolutes for a reason, it would be the Oklahoma City Thunder. Erik, I saw you shaking your head. What's up?
Yeah. You know what? Can I just double down on Noah, because I want to hear why you disagree and tell us why we're wrong. I think it's OKC too, because the 2 times we beat them, they weren't healthy. And when they had Chet, they beat us by 40 some odd points. Now I know that's an outlier, but we could lose to OKC when they're healthy. But why do you disagree?
No, I was shaking my head in that, number one, I think it's foolish to overlook Boston. We're talking about a 7-game series potentially. Let's not look too far ahead and say that, we're going to the NBA Finals. That's still a very good basketball team. That is a basketball team that did go up 25-3 and can move the ball and knock down threes like maybe no other team. That said, out of the West, here's what's interesting about the West to me. I think that it's all about how those matchups are going to line up, because you guys mentioned a lot of teams, but there's one team that you didn't mention, and that's the Houston Rockets. They have a young team that plays very quick. And LA Lakers, for example, that have LeBron that's pushing 65, they are not going to want to play a Houston Rockets team that's going to run them up and down the floor. And I know I said just a minute ago that the game slows down a little bit, but it's not going to slow down that much. So I think how these matchups end up when it's all settled and we see the playoff picture, that's going to determine a lot. And another thing you guys mentioned, I know they're not as deep as when they had their championship run, but you completely left off the Nuggets as well. They have by far, arguably the best NBA player in the NBA. Listen, I don't think what you see in the regular season is indicative of that Nuggets team. They can turn it on, and they will turn it on come playoff team. So the West is far more interesting, in my opinion, than the East. The Warriors are certainly fascinating now that Butler's there. They can move the ball well. Butler, I think since the time he's been traded out there, he's plus 80, if I'm not mistaken. DeAndre Hunter's like plus 82, by the way. So sleeping on any of these teams, I'm more excited to watch the playoff matchups that come out of the West besides the Cavs matchups, because I think anything can happen out there.
I don't think I'm sleeping on them. I wanted to say that this will be quick though. Sorry. Hard agree on don't look past the Celtics. That's the team we're most likely to have to play, so that makes sense that they'd be the most. Hard disagree on the Rockets. I think they're like the Cavs a few years ago when we were young and scrappy and looked good, and then we're like, what do you mean we're going to a 7th game against Orlando and it's like falling apart? I don't think they have the staying power yet, but Houston in a year or two I think is going to be a juggernaut.
Should say, I don't think Rockets to the finals. I don't mean Cavs should worry about them. I'm saying a team like the Lakers that have to get those old bodies up and down the floor should not overlook a team like the Rockets.
Hold on, because I was going to give you a counterpoint on that. Because you're talking about the Lakers and their pace and that kind of thing. you compared them to the Houston Rockets. Houston Rockets are 19th in pace. The Lakers are 22. They are in the same realm of pace. So I'm not really worried about their pace. And LeBron James is the most freakishly athletic person we have ever seen touch a ball of any kind. So to discredit LeBron and call them old when they also have Luka, who is a young star in this league, who is doing his thing in LA.
And fat.
I don't think that is a fair point to make.
Listen, I love LeBron and I love Luka. I hate the Lakers, so I'm definitely gonna. My point was not that the Lakers can't beat Houston. I'm definitely not saying that. My point is that you can't overlook anybody in the West, in my opinion. Whereas when you look at the East, it's not as wide open. You have the Cavs and Celtics on top. The Knicks, I don't worry about them. The Bucks, I don't worry about them. The Pacers, I don't worry about them. Pistons, Heat, we don't even need to talk about. Whereas when you look at the West, there's 4 or 5 potential teams that you can see upsets there. That was my main point.
It makes sense. The only other thought I had on this topic, and then we can wrap it up when I get your last thoughts, is I do still have like a boogeyman bump in the night feeling about the Cavs with these core players getting so, I don't want to say starstruck isn't the right word, but we have had situations where this team that looked unstoppable during the regular season gets stage fright in the playoffs and clams up just enough that stuff starts getting silly. Like,
it's a different team. It's a different mindset. It's a different type of basketball that they're playing. I'm not scared about it at all.
Well, that's a fair point, but to say it's a different team is crazy because we have literally almost the exact same rosters last year. So it's the same people.
They're differently coached. I mean,
differently coached. They're a year more mature. I mean, they're to claim that the lights are too bright, like Jared Allen said 2 years ago. He's 2 years more mature in the league with 2 more years of playoff experience since any of that.
I'd be more worried about Donovan not showing up, frankly.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I was thinking about show up in a playoff game in his entire career for the most part.
Donovan and Darius are the 2 people where I'm like, I know, Noah, you said you think this whole season comes down to Mobley and in terms of us winning a championship. He's a big piece. But if Garland and Mitchell look like they did against Boston last year, Mobley could score 45 a night, and it's not going to be enough. So,
but here's the thing. I think that's where coaching sets us apart. If Donovan's not hitting and Garland's not hitting, we're not going to keep trying to feed them. The offensive game plan does not have to flow through the 2 of them. We want them to, but you saw tonight, Donovan had his quiet, whatever it was, but he was a facilitator the most of the night. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I just want to go back to the Western Conference for half a second, because Noah, you pointed out their pace, but pace is just the pace stat is just the number of possessions a team gets in 48 minutes. So it's somewhat indicative in how fast they play, but it's not really. It's a flawed stat. I just want to point that out real quick.
You're muted, Noah. Well,
we will move on without Noah for now.
Yeah. Well, Noah's figuring that out. You make some really good points.
I'm back. I was pointing it out as a baseline.
Fair enough. Sorry. Go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to start wrapping us up and bringing us home. I was like, I don't know how long Noah's going to be miming and lip syncing over there, but I
got one final point that I want to make while we're talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers. Because I want to show you I already have the video. I have the tape. I went to the future of what the Eastern Conference Final is going to look like. Let me roll it real quick.
Okay,
that's
for those
good.
of you listening and
that.
not watching. It's a picture of a Donovan Mitchell cartoon spanking a Boston Celtic. It looked like Tom and Jerry, if I'm not mistaken.
That might be the best thing you've ever prepared for this show.
Oh, I was doing it in the moment. I think that's why my mic turned off, is because it picked up the hotkey on my audio software instead of when I was in the iMovie.
That's fantastic. By the way, I just want to give you guys shit for a quick second, and then we can move on. We have a whole show dedicated to the Cleveland Guardians and the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I'm the only one dressed appropriately.
I was feeling my Jeremiah Smith jersey. I haven't worn it on the show yet, man. I'm sorry, my bad.
And I'm wearing my Baldwin Wallace hoodie that's from college and an original that still fits somehow. I mean, I don't know. What do you want me to say? I had some technical difficulties. I didn't think about changing, but Baldwin Wallace did have a man sign a contract in the NFL last week. So, the Yellow Jackets are on the rise.
And on that note, why don't we go to break?
Home of Jim Tressel. So, Eric's right. We got to take a quick break, pay a couple bills, but we'll be back with more at the office after these commercial messages. All right, we're back at the office. Before we go on, reminder, please subscribe, hit the like button, smash that download. If you're doing audio only, drop us a comment, whether you're streaming live or not. We love hearing from you. Also, you can check out our merch store. You, too, can own great swag like this. Shout out Fans First Sports Network supporting us and all we do. And you can join us too. Don't forget, send us a comment, YouTube, Facebook, X, text the show, 216-260-3433. It's at the bottom of the screen, 216-260-3433. All right, gentlemen, water cooler down 30-second first segment. Last topic, we talked Cavs, talked a little bit about predictions and what we expect. This is like the appropriate time to make predictions about the playoffs because they're almost upon us. Let's go in the other direction and do some way too early predictions. So, like I said before, weather's changing. Spring's right around the corner. We may be reminded of tailgating, but it means it's also almost baseball time. We got some spring training games going on. Coming off an MLB Final Four appearance, shall I call it, for lack of a better term, gave the Yankees a decent fight in the ALCS, but depending on how you look at it, we're one round on the doorstep of the World Series. Say goodbye to some big names. Hearing a lot of reports out of I almost said training camp, out of spring training. Chase DeLauder, Bieber's back, Jimenez, Naylor gone, Sticks McKenzie. What I'm trying to ask you guys in a roundabout way is, what do you think we're going to get this year out of the guards? Now, unlike the Cavs, we haven't watched them rattle off 3 different 12-game winning streaks and kind of take the league by storm. Admittedly, it's way too early. But we got a tough division, and I want to get your thoughts on what you expect out of the guards, given what we've seen so far in spring training and the roster shakeup. So, since Erik pointed out he's dressed appropriately, he's got the Guardian swag on, and Noah started last time. Why don't you get us kicked off on this one? Tell us what you think about the guard I was going into the season.
No, I don't want to hear that you started last time. I'll just go.
I did not start last time, to be fair, but I want you to go first.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry, Noah. I should make notes. I should put this down. I should put little tick marks by your head so I keep it even.
Fair.
Listen, I think that this Guardian season comes down to 3 key areas: pitching, and more pitching. Here's the thing. It's really hard to predict how the Guardians can do, because I can really foresee us winning the Central and being a playoff team that goes fairly deep. I could also see us not winning the Central and missing the playoffs entirely. Like, it could go either way. We got unbelievable amount of production out of guys that we didn't expect it from last year. We have one of the best bullpens in baseball. I'll say that. By far, Gavin Williams is one of the breakout stars in our bullpen. This guy's unbelievable. I mean, he has the second quickest fastball to the plate in all of the majors right now. He is messing around with 3 different breaking balls. I mean, if everything's about velocity, he has it. So that's a bright spot. What's not a bright spot is the rest of it is a question mark. Tristan McKenzie's a giant question mark. He kind of looks exactly where he left off, which was not very good. Bieber, who knows? So there's a lot of questions. And then when you look at what's likely to be our opening roster, there's a lot to be, a lot to be, I don't know, a lot left. It's left wanting more is what I'm trying to say.
A lot left to be desired.
That's
yes,
what
thank you.
I was going to let you figure it out.
I mean, let's just go by position real quick. Behind the plate, you have Bo Naylor and Austin Hedges. I think Bo's developing well, and Austin's a decent defensive catcher.
Yeah.
but that's not a huge spot for us.
And they're going to bat 103. So there's that.
Exactly.
Bo is going to bat 300 this year. My jersey purchased last year guarantees it.
Okay. I'll give you 10-1 odds and take the under. You want to lay that bet right now? You call them out.
No, I'm all the
I was going to say, I'll bet something. I'm hankering for dumplings lately. On the infield, on the diamond, you have Jose, great. Rocchio, okay. Arias, Freeman, Santana. Who knows what we're going to get out of old man Santana? I hope something. Manzardo and Schneemann. That's the likely starters. Outfielders, you have Quan, Thomas, Brennan, and Noel. The outfield really leaves a lot to be desired. Listen, I love Noel and Big Christmas and that home run, but he's not consistent. Quan's probably my favorite player of the bunch. Can we expect the same kind of production out of Thomas this year that we got? And Brennan's been quite a letdown. It could go either way. And then with starting pitching, obviously, I think we'll be okay there. And I said before that the bullpen, you still have Clase, who was nearly a Cy Young winner if they didn't just give it to starters. So I don't know. That's the end of it. I just don't know.
Yeah, I can second and piggyback on that, but I also don't really know. You were pointing out Gavin Williams. Were you talking Gavin Williams, or did you mean Tanner Bybee there?
No, I meant Gavin Williams.
So Gavin Williams last year was up and down for us. Tanner Bybee has shown that he can be an ace in this league. Gavin Williams, to me this year, though, is going to be the breakout player in terms of the pitching. He came back from an injury last year. It hampered what he had going on. Right now in spring training, he has pitched 4.1 innings. He has a 2.08 ERA on 9 strikes. I know that is a tiny sample size, and we're only going to get tiny sample sizes out of spring training, but he looks to be back on the path of what I saw when I worked in Akron and he was the main guy in Akron, what I saw when he got finally called up to the league 2 seasons ago. It feels like it was yesterday at this point. I think he is going to be a big turning point for this Cleveland Guardians roster. Then you look into some of the pitching help that we
become best friends. Did we just agree on something?
Yeah, we did.
We can make bunk beds if you want.
No, I think I'm good with my queen size bed over here personally. But
right. I said make bunk beds, not buy them. You guys got to build those bad boys.
Yeah, right. We got to go buy the 2x4s and everything. We're building it from scratch. Listen, I think this team could go either way. I lean towards the side of having faith in the returning manager of the year, Stephen Vogt, to continue the progress and progression towards being a perennial playoff franchise and not doing the up and down teeter-totter dip that we've been doing the last couple of years. But I'm also a scarred Cleveland fan who is worried about us doing the up and down teeter-totter dip. One year we make the playoffs and go to the ALCS, and the next year we lose and are barely 500. There's a lot of question marks here. Erik, you pointed them out already. I won't go over them. Who's going to start at second base is the biggest question mark in my mind right now. And I want to know who ends up winning that battle, if they're going to try to platoon it like they have been doing with some of these outfield positions for years now. I was really hoping when they traded Jimenez, that meant we were going to bring someone else in somewhere. We didn't really do that. I'm not so surprised because that's just what this front office does. But we'll see. I'm excited nonetheless. Baseball season has a very special place in my heart, and I can't wait for opening day.
I can't wait for opening day either. I'm always excited for baseball season as an ex-ball player myself. It's a special place. The weather's changing. It's a great time of year. You got March Madness, you got the draft, you got baseball, you got the Kentucky Derby, you got all kind of stuff going on that's really fun. I'm going to kind of go in the middle. You both said it could go either way. I don't expect an A, and I don't expect an F. I expect a solid C+ or B-. C+ is playing well enough to have a winning-ish record, but not making the playoffs. B- is making the playoffs but bowing out early. I don't think we have enough to win the division, but I do think we have enough to compete for a wild card. With the open wild card the way it is now, we can get ourselves into one of those one-game playoffs. And if you win a game, you never know. But I don't expect us to have the firepower because, honestly, I'm looking at the lineup and I don't see the hits and the runs that I saw from last year. Our
Who do you
division
have
is
winning
tougher
the
than it
division?
usually.
Twins?
Who do you have winning the? I was going to ask the same thing, Eric. Who do you have winning the division?
Tigers.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So where do you think-
I could be
Where do you
wrong,
think the
but
Twins fall?
with us in that vein of people who could compete for a wild card but aren't really.
And then what about the Royals as well?
You're making
It's a
my
tough
point for me.
division.
The division's really hard.
I agree. I agree. No, I agree. I'm curious since we're going down that rabbit hole right now. What you think? That's all.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
your
that
main sticking point, I mean, we haven't Josh Naylor hit 30 home runs last year, and we
Yeah.
have not replaced that production.
that's my main. Yeah, and that's the part of the point that I was heading towards. I look at the lineup. You guys talked about pitching. Eric's 100% right. If we get good pitching, we're going to lose a lot of games 2-1. We've seen that before with this team because we get great pitching out of the starters, get great pitching out of the bullpen. We average 1.7 runs per game. I'm being a little bit facetious, but
Not with Vogt, though.
not
And
with
I don't know
votes.
why that makes a difference, but it did.
There's
the
two-
same, it's the same thing as the Cleveland Cavaliers. You had a good coach, you move on to a different coach, it unlocks different things.
I think
Correct.
that's
It's
putting
just
a
a
lot
coaching.
of. Let's not besmirch Tito's name by
No, well,
comparing him
now I
to
will because he's a
Bickerstaff,
red, and I want.
but
Yeah, no, I will. I
John's
will now
second
that he
favorite
is a
team, probably.
red. But
It
but
is.
you get what I'm saying.
The Reds are my second favorite team. It's a National League team that we never play. What's wrong with that? It's not like the Bengals.
we play
don't
the
need to go
Ohio
down that
series
road.
every year.
Well, every year since interleague play started, which I know it's wild for you guys, but there was baseball before you were both born. So they started.
Yeah, I'm a big
playing
fan of the Cleveland Spiders too, but go on, John.
relatively
Right.
recently. No, two things that I just wanted to say that you said. Maybe it's semantics, maybe it's not. You can tell me. Noah, you said Bybee has proven that he can be an ace. I think an ace is a guy you give the ball every 4 or 5 days. No, he's going to get you 6 or more innings, give up 3 or fewer runs. Bybee's a good pitcher. He's not proven that he's an ace. The other thing that I would say is, and I don't know if this is right or not, Erik, you had Gabe Arias starting at second base, I believe, when you did the lineup. Don't we have
No, I'm
Juan
just saying he's
Brito?
infielders. Yeah, we have Brino and we have the other one that are probably gonna
Okay.
vie for it.
I mean, you guys had really good points. Those are the only two little things I even heard where I was like, wait a minute, I thought Brito might start at second. And I think Bybee's a legitimate number 2. He could prove that he can be an ace this year. I don't think he's there yet. I don't know. Give me the Guardians to win something like 88 games. Is that good enough to get in? We'll find out together. In this division, maybe not.
That's crazy, isn't it? That
Yeah.
88
So-
games isn't enough to get in.
Yeah.
So
We might have to win
play-
90 this year. No joke.
So to gamble a little bit, the Guardians last year had 92 wins. Over or under 92 wins for the 2025 season?
Under.
I'm under as well. Do you know what the next 2 records following the Cleveland Guardians were?
And
But
we're talking
in our
about
division. The Twins
Yeah, in
were
our
close
division,
because
yes.
it went far into September, the race, if I recall.
The Royals and the Tigers were the
Royals.
next 2.
yes.
It was the Royals, the Tigers, the Twins, and then the basement dweller White Sox. The
Who had the
Royals
worst
and the
season?
Tigers had 86 wins last year. Over or under 86 wins?
For who?
The Guardians.
Shit.
Under.
If I
I'll
had
take
to
the
bet,
over.
if I had to bet, I'd take under 86. I just said give me 88. I know that's a little optimistic, but if I had to bet it with my own money, I'm going under 86.
Well, it's a 6-game difference. So you're saying we're under 92, but over 80 what? 84 or whatever?
86.
86.
86. That's a 6-game window that you're saying we're in. I just, from a betting standpoint, under for sure.
Correct.
I get you.
The other thing that
Uh,
I'll throw in there is I don't think we're taking into account how tough the division is and how many games we have to play against these teams. The Tigers look like hot dog shit for the first half of last year, and we're the best team in the majors after the All-Star break, I believe, in terms of record. Might be a little bit over my skis or outside, but they were really good down the stretch. If they come in this year healthy with a Cy Young award-winning caliber starting pitcher, I could see a team like the Tigers winning a lot more than 86 games, even though 86 is what they won last year. And a lot of those wins are going to come at our expense.
Can I?
So So the Vegas books have the Cleveland Guardians line set at 82.5. Over or under?
I'll go over 82.5. I would say I would go over that. But that's a good line.
Erik?
I would say
It's a good line, isn't it?
Yeah.
it is a good line. There's a reason they said it, but at this point in time, just looking at the offensive production we can expect, I'll say under. If we can squeeze some juice out of the old lady that is Slamtana and he can become that again, over. But I think it's just so dependent on ifs right now.
It's the beauty and the frustration of baseball, too, that 92 wins is like, we'll make the playoffs even if we don't win the division. And 82 wins is like, fucking forget it. Like, that's 10 wins over 162. And if you get 92, we all say, yep, you're in. If you get 82, we all probably say, yeah, you're home.
You know what,
I would
though?
take the over, just to be fair, real quick, just to close that out. I would take the over, and solely just because I am the Cleveland optimist that I can be on the show. So,
Well, there is an X factor that we haven't talked about so far, and that is the clubhouse itself. We put a lot of emphasis in other sports on what the culture is like, and the Guardians have one of, if not the best in all of baseball, in my opinion. Are you guys familiar with the whole chicken coop thing?
No.
By your faces, I'll take that as a no. So every morning so far in spring training, the clubhouse sounds like a chicken coop. And that's because Clase, every day before batting practice, he calls home to his family in the Dominican Republic where he has a farm. And even if music's blaring or whatever, you can hear his chickens in the background. It's just one of those fun little facts out of training camp that I thought was so funny. But Luis Ortiz sits next to him, and they're just watching the action on the farm. He grew up with Noel, Big Christmas. They're from the same hometown. They've known Jose Ramirez since they're young. I don't think you can put enough, my point is, I don't think you could put enough emphasis on the culture that has been built in Cleveland, and that goes back to Tito. They have the best clubhouse when it comes down to that. Now, does that mean they're going to beat the Dodgers in the World Series? No, absolutely not. But to win 82 games and make the playoffs, sure, why not?
I just see a lot of those games where Sticks McKenzie struggles a little bit and kind of got to.
He's not even going to be in the rotation, in my opinion. He
should be a middle reliever,
which is a whole nother issue, because then it's like, well, who is in your damn rotation?
Gavin Williams, Tanner Bybee, Bieber
in
when
the
he's
summer,
healthy.
It'll be back to Bieber, yeah.
Probably John Means, the guy we signed.
Yeah, John Means.
I love that signing, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
John Means is a fantastic pitcher. He comes to an organization where he knows we're willing to take the risk and look at post-rehab pitchers and, frankly, see them perform really well. I think that's an underrated signing.
I agree as well.
I would come out in the middle and say that I like the signing. On the other hand, I would not go as far as to call him a fantastic pitcher. But he was
at one point, though. He was an all-star. He had he pitched a no-no, I think, or it wasn't a perfect game. Yeah, he pitched a something like that.
No, I don't. I'm not throwing shade at the guy. The point you guys made last segment is coming back. I don't want to pay somebody for past performance, and being good in the past doesn't mean you're going to be good this year. I don't think he'll stink, but like, again, if we're talking about winning a division, where do you think the Guardians come out? You bring up a name like that and say, oh, Shane Bieber will be out for 60 games. But then when he comes back in the summer, McKenzie's not going to be on the – there's holes,
Luis Ortiz, though, that was a part of that trade. You haven't mentioned him at all.
No, I did not mention Luis Ortiz. He's actually pretty – I mean, but his ERA is 4.5. Like, that's an average – he's fine, but –
Well, you can't expect a 2 to 3 ERA out of all 5 of your starting pitchers. We're talking about.
I didn't say I expected a 2 ERA. I said his ERA is 4.5. You think he's going to win the game?
He had a 3.32 ERA last season.
You have a bullpen where you need guys to go give you 4 good innings. Yeah, you want more than that, But if they can give you 4 to 6 good innings, we don't need 9 innings out of these guys. I think that's where, pitching is so crucial. Yes, we do need production because you're absolutely right. We can have great pitching and then lose 2-1, and we've seen that play out, and it's the most frustrating freaking baseball you can watch. But they found it last year.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with your take. I disagree with the outcome. You're basically saying everybody in your starting rotation can't have a 2 or 3 ERA. Some of them are going to give up some. Then Erik said, hey, you only need these guys to go, 4 innings. Then you turn it over to the bullpen. A bunch of starters who are kind of good, who can get you 4 or 5 innings with the lineup that we're going to watch. Brian Rocchio, Bo Naylor, and Juan Brito hit a collective at 158. I just, they won't be god awful. I'm not going to not enjoy watching them. But if you're asking me, like I said, they're going to win 82 to 88 games and miss the playoffs. That's what a team like this looks like. Like what Jose Ramirez and Steven Kwan can hit. Everybody else is a question mark. Kyle Manzardo might be good. Lane Thomas and Will Brennan could be good, but we don't know.
Don't diss
Thomas
Brian
was
Rocchio
fantastic.
either. He broke out in the playoffs last year and was a key piece to hitting there.
Sure, but the regular season was pretty rough.
Right, but I think you move on from a Andres Jimenez because you believe in the hitting power of Brian Rocchio mixed with his defense at that point. You're betting on that player.
Fan long enough to know better than that the Guardians moved on because you believe in the backup.
Yeah, that
I have a goddamn thing to do with
take.
That's fair too.
I think we argued about the same point. I think we all got this team winning like 82 to 86, and we can figure it out as we get closer, maybe 88.
I got them winning 162 personally, but that's just me.
Right. He's not joking, ladies and gentlemen. I'll take the under on that too.
Well, you're going to hear about this. Knowing John, Noah, you're going to hear about that take for the next 6 months.
Even as a joke at the end of the,
I know.
Exactly.
I'm just preparing you.
They lose the opener. I'm like, well, Noah, pay up. Dumpling time.
Dumpling time, bro.
This is a great conversation. I think we had a wonderful, wonderful pod tonight. Had some good topics. It's been a pleasure spending some time with you guys. I'm going to wrap us up there. Before we get out of here, let's end it where we always do with hot takes. I didn't let Noah go first when I should have, so why don't you get us kicked off with your hot take tonight?
So you're going to put me on the spot when I can't think of a hot take off the top of my head. But when I'm ready to fire on all cylinders, the last 3 topics. No, Erik. No.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you've only had a week. This is new, by the way. We don't usually do hot takes, so I apologize.
No, my hot take can come nice, easy, and simple. Ty Jerome is going to sign an extension and/or a matched offer, whatever that looks like in terms of the offseason with the Cleveland Cavaliers, because he's so much of a good fit here. I don't think there is any reason for him to leave. The money that he would get elsewhere is not as much as you would expect compared to what he could still get in Cleveland. Cleveland's salary cap with the luxury tax and all of that is still a very good situation for a player like Ty Jerome to still come back here, still do what Ty Jerome does, and still be a pivotal piece to what is a championship window for one of the best teams in the NBA right now.
I hope you're right, man.
Me too. That is a very optimistic take. I will say, I know the doom and gloom is floating over Cleveland with the Nick Chubb news and some of the other stuff going on, Myles Garrett, what have you. But I have some faith. I have some faith in Dan Gilbert and the Cleveland Cavaliers.
You're up next, brother.
John did not ask us about the rest of the MLB or our predictions for the rest of the MLB. So I will use my hot take to say we should ban the Los Angeles Dodgers from competing in Major League Baseball.
That is a hot
because they are ruining the sport. First of all, they're annoying as shit. Second of all, they win a World Series and they just add on and add on. Here's the hot take. That wasn't the hot take. Ban them. Get rid of them. Get rid of Houston too, by the way. Here's the hot take. The Los Angeles Dodgers will not win the World Series this year. There has not been a repeat champion in 25 years, gentlemen. It is the longest drought of a repeat champion in major sports. The last team to do it was the New York Yankees when they had a three-peat in 98, 99, 2000 Subway Series against the Mets.
Yeah, you probably have a T-shirt, you weirdo.
I did at some point. The Subway Series was cool as hell. I don't know who's going to win it. The Mets maybe made the most offseason moves that position them well in an offseason where they weren't planning to spend, which is a little ironic. They get the most expensive guy in Juan Soto. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just going to say they're not winning it.
I like it. Interesting take, along with ban the Dodgers. I like that part too.
I'm with banning the Dodgers. Get them out of the league. Let them go play in let them travel between all the Mexican league and the Chinese and the Japanese. Let them go travel between all those leagues and have some fun.
And the
let
Astros.
us do our thing.
We have not forgotten. The Astros are the douchebags of the MLB. Ban them too.
Yeah, I think the salary cap thing is actually going to end up getting some legs, and we won't have to worry about it in a few years. But fair, they purchased a championship. It's frustrating to watch as a Guardians fan. My hot take is about the Cavs. It's not really spicy. It's a wholesome story, but sports, when they're at their best, remind us of ourselves, who we are coming together, no matter how big or small, race, religion, creed. It's 5 guys on a basketball team, 9 guys on a baseball team, or ladies coming together to try to do something special. And the thing that I wanted to call out was the Cleveland Cavaliers. They call clubs, professional sports teams clubs, because way back in the day, you'd start a sports club in your city that people who like to play basketball will come together and play basketball. And you'd say, hey, we got a good set of guys here. The Cleveland club will go play the Cincinnati club. And over time, it evolved into pro sports. Going back to club sports, high school sports, college sports, and what made me fall in love with sports in the first place, Cleveland Cavaliers this year embody what it means to truly be a team more than almost any pro sports team that I have ever seen in my life. They're unselfish to a fault. They are well coached and play hard. They never give up. They have each other's back. And most of all, they want to see each other succeed more than they want to succeed themselves. Win, lose, or draw, I'm hoping like hell, rooting like hell for a championship. But I think this Cavaliers team is a case study in what sports is when it's at its absolute best. It uplifts the city. They uplift each other. And they epitomize what it means to be a professional athlete. So shout out to the coach, to the GM, to the owner, and everybody involved. I don't know if the Cavs are going to win a championship, but I can tell you with an honest opinion that I would never want to play with anybody else in the NBA other than the Cleveland Cavaliers. They seem to have done a great job, and the guys love playing for them. So shout out to the Cavs on a job well done. We went a little long tonight, guys, but that's okay. I'm going to wrap us up. Thank you, everybody, for joining us at the office. That's it for tonight. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the download button if you're listening. Check us out on all social, at the office Clee. Thank you to the Fans First Sports Network, D&D Meadery. Have a great day or night, wherever and whenever you're listening or watching. And until next time, stay up.